Okay. There we go. You can hear me? Good. Well, let's see who shows up today, if anybody. Carol said she would try. How's the audio level? Okay, not too loud, not too soft. I know. We'll see. Given it is a summer Saturday and I haven't been on YouTube for a little bit, we'll see how many people show up. And that's fine. Actually, this YouTube streaming platform is not too bad. The camera's not bad at all. My bangs have cowlicks. Okay. I found the thing that tells me how many people are in the live stream. I actually think it looks better than the Zoom room. I wonder if I can just record on this. And we have a couple of new people coming in. Say hi in the chat if you would. It is 5 o'clock. Happy summer solstice. And I hope that you're having a good weekend. And today I was just going to talk a little about my books and about summer and about writing and see what you guys are up to. And we will see how things go. And I will wait to see if a few more people come in. It's just us again. If it ends up being just us, probably not going to post this. Yeah, it's warm here today. It's not as bad as it was last week, but hi, Lila. I think I recognize that name. So how is it where you're at? Where is everybody from? You don't have to give your city, but to get an idea of where people are from. I'm in the Seattle area, of course. You're on the other side of the coastline then. Oh, my coffee mug today. My coffee and I are having a moment. I will be with you later. And Florida. And I know Jen is in Texas. And my husband, of course, is in the same area I'm in, thank goodness. I know there were some pretty, yeah, the other room. I know there were some pretty bad tornadoes recently. And I hope that everybody made it through those. I was watching the Weather Chasers. Anyway, so yeah, today I just wanted to chat a bit, chat to my readers, see what's going down with people, talk about my books a little bit. I'm currently finishing up Standing Stones for the end of next month, and that's a Wild Hunt novella. And after that, we start into the new Wild Hunt series. And if you guys have any questions about things like that, feel free to ask. Maybe put the word question in capital letters before your question, and that way Jen can gather the ones that I might miss. I can't see it being so quick that I miss them, but you never know. Yeah, I'm having so much fun writing Otherworld again and Wild Hunt. I didn't realize how much I missed both of those series. And it'll be interesting when I get to Otherworld Unleashed, because that starts up about 2 years after Blood Bonds, the last Otherworld book. So, um, the new Wild Hunt series takes place not too far after the third Night Queen book, which was a short spin-off of Wild Hunt. So it's about a year and a half, 2 years after that. Actually, maybe not that far, because Emerald has had her. I am getting my characters mixed up. Ember has had her triplets by the time that the uh, new Wild Hunt series starts, and in the two novellas, she's already had her triplets and is dealing with being a mother. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens. Um, Jen was saying it'll be cool to see how things have changed for the characters of both series. And I'm really curious as to how the new Otherworld Unleashed series is going to come out, because I don't know yet. I'm an intuitive writer. I write as I go, and so I don't plan ahead. I can feel the energy and so forth, but yeah. As far as the Whisper Hollow series, I am still trying to get my rights back from the UK for that. And frankly, it's frustrating at this point. I still have to talk to Berkeley about that. That's the last kind of tie that I have to them. And they have to approve the UK sending my rights back to me for that. I contacted, ooh, I'm a little blurry. I contacted the UK publisher. Let me see. Hold on a second. Am I too blurry for you guys? Because I can tell it kind of blurred up a little bit. Anyway, I contacted the UK publisher, and they were willing to give me back the rights, but because it went through Berkeley, Berkeley has to contact them and give their approval. And I asked for that last year, and as you can see, we're still waiting on it. So at some point, I would like to write more in the Whisper Hollow series, but until then, thank you, Jen. Until then, I'm putting it on hold. So there's that. In fact, all the paranormal women's fiction for now is on hold at this point because, well, bluntly put, the sales went down and people really got excited over the new Wild Hunt novellas and the other world books. And I only have so much time, so I'm making choices. I will be writing more in the Shadowblade series though. So yeah, I enjoyed that series too. It's it's an odd one to write. Whisper Hollow, that's one of the few series I've had dreams about. Otherworld, I had some dreams about. Indigo Court, I dreamt about. Whisper Hollow, I dreamt about. And I've dreamt about parts of the Wild Hunt. So, and when that happens, it usually indicates that it's dug deep into my subconscious, and my subconscious is really working with them. Um, I think, in fact, with Whisper Hollow, I dreamt about Diago, the scuffler under the bed from the hospital. And that was a creepy dream, definitely. And I dreamt about the vampires in Indigo Court. So it's odd. My mind works in strange, strange ways. So, anyway, let's see. Any more questions so far? I will say with the new Wild Hunt series, which will be called the Crystal Fae series, it's going to be most of the original team with a new main character because Ember cannot go out again, at this point, more than just now and then, since she's dealing with the children. And, there's been a few shakeups that you'll see in Standing Stones and that you may have seen in Witching Season. So Utani will be there, Talia, Victor has come back, um, Wager Chance is part of the Wild Hunt now. Lyrical is on sabbatical for reasons that you will see in the books. And then we have the new girl who is, well, the new woman, and she is part of the Crystal Fae, which is a previously I won't say undiscovered, but undisclosed faction of the Fae Nation. And the Crystal Fae don't hold the light and dark courts in high regard. So there's a lot of infighting in the Fae again. And the two Fae queens, Saele and Neve, are not happy. Yeah, I'm excited about it too, Deborah. I really, I love writing that series. And actually, it's probably my second favorite to write after Otherworld was. Whisper Hollow was also up there. Um, just in terms of content and the characters. And Indigo Court, I loved writing, but that was a hard one to write because I could only write those books at night. I mean, I would literally sit there during the day and try to write, and nothing would come. And I would have to wait till evening to start writing because I think the series was so dark, it required me to be surrounded by shadows in a way. And I don't know if I ever told you guys how Otherworld came to be. If you'd like to hear, I will tell you that now. It it was interesting. I was writing mysteries, Chintz and China and the short-lived Bath and Body series. And I was sitting on the floor in the living room one night watching TV. And we had windows at that time in the house we were renting. They started at 7.5 feet off the floor because it was a very high ceilinged house. And I happened to look up at the window one evening while I was watching TV, and I literally saw three women jump through that window and land by my side. I mean, visually, of course, they weren't there, but they were there in my sort of psychic vision. They landed there. They introduced themselves. Camille introduced herself and then introduced her scissors. Sisters? uh, she introduced her sisters. And then they told me, you need to write our story. And I was like, okay. And then they vanished. So I went in my office and I wrote down what I had seen and I wrote down what they looked like and I wrote down their names. And then I was like, okay, how am I going to present this to my agent and editor? And so I talked to my agent and she was like, well, send your editor, a sample chapter or something about it. Just, contact her. Because by then my editor and I were on, a fairly, I'm not going to say friendly, but we communicated quite a bit. And so I wrote up one paragraph about the idea or about this, what I'd seen, and some vague things I thought might be in the stories. And I sent it to her, and she wrote back going, send us a sample chapter and a little bit more reworked proposal. So I wrote 10 pages of the story of Witchling, what would become Witchling. And then I managed to get about 2/3 of a page of a synopsis for what I kind of envisioned the series being and sent that to them. 2 weeks later, my editor came back and she was like, we've had 8 editors read this. They all love it. We have no clue what it's going to be, but we'll give you 3 books and we'll figure out what to do with it once you send us the first book. And so that is how Otherworld came to be. The sisters literally introduced themselves to me, and I took it from there, and then I let them tell their stories. And I had no idea what it was about to become. I think my editor didn't either. I think they expected something much more lighthearted, much more fluffy. But I don't do fluffy well, and I'm glad I didn't try to make it what it wasn't supposed to be, because it became something bigger than me. Honestly, no, Lila. Lila just asked, were they originally supposed to be a book per sister? I was going to write it all from Camille's point of view. And I wrote Witchling. My editor loved it. And, she goes, okay, it's time for you to write Changeling. And she goes, that's going to be from Delilah's point of view, isn't it? And I sat there going, what? What did you just say? And I was like, I didn't think so. I thought I was going to write it all from Camille's point of view. And so she goes, well, that's partly why we bought it. We thought it would be such a cool idea. And we thought you were going to be writing each book per, sister. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And she was like, you can. You have the talent. You can do this. So I wrote 200 pages of Changeling, and then I threw it away. because I realized I was trying to write Delilah from Camille's point of view. I mean, from the way Camille would see her. And Delilah was the hardest sister to write. She still is, because, well, she's better now, but she was so timid and so unlike me that it was hard to coax her out. She was a cat. It was hard to make her come out of hiding. And finally she did. And mentally came busting in like gangbusters. I mean, she just broke down the door and came in. Camille, of course, has always been the easiest for me to write. But that's how it became around Robin with the sisters. And that's one reason the series pulled out so long, because each sister had their own story progression. And unfortunately, in traditional publishing, most series, unless you are a blockbuster author like Jane Ann Krentz, who also writes, um, oh, doesn't she write the J.D. Robb series? No, that's Nora Roberts. Anyway, the blockbuster authors can get away with long series in trad, but if you are not a blockbuster author, the minute the sales start going down, the publishers get antsy and they stop promoting, and then that's one reason why series end so quickly. So, or they end unfinished, because it's all about sales there. And if they aren't promoting, then the sales drop rapidly. I lucked out. I got promotion up until about the 13th, 14th book, and then they stopped doing most of the promotion. But that's why I ended up having to finish the series in indie. But, I mean, it's like it took time. I couldn't rush the ending. I could not rush the ending of the series. It had to play out in its natural progression. And I wasn't going to not finish that series because it was so long. So once I went indie, it was like, okay, I am going to finish the series, even though I can't do anything with the other 18 books because Berkeley owned the rights to them at that point. Or they licensed the rights to them. So I finished the series. And I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. I needed to, for myself as well as my readers. Because, I'd written so much in it. And I now have all the additional anthologies I've written and the novellas I've written and the prequels I'm now writing to. So yeah, that's how Otherworld came to be and ended up finally coming back to me this year. It took me 6 years to get my rights back. Lila, which sister did you connect with most? Yeah, a lot of people did. It's funny because each sister has her faction of fans, and I get that. It's interesting to see who connects with who, and interesting to see what side characters people like for any series. Not just Otherworld, but who likes. There are people who love Angel in The Wild Hunt, and people who love Raven, and all the factions in between. It's interesting to see for the minor characters who really goes for them too, who really likes them. There's someone for Otherworld, he keeps wanting to know if Queen Lethesinar from Ealestriel, um, over in Otherworld, he wants to see if she's coming back. And it's like, she was a minor character who I never wrote anything from her point of view, but for some reason she fascinated him. So it's always interesting to see. Authors love to see who likes what characters. And who connects with what characters and why. Now, it's interesting for Wild Hunt, I connect more with Raven than I do Ember. Yeah, I wanted to. I think the Ember books sell better than the Raven books, and it always kind of confuses me simply because I write an overall series arc. Hi, Dawn. Glad to see you here. Thank you. I When I hear things like that, Dawn is saying that my books kept her sane during her cancer treatments, and things like that matter to authors. It, I mean, of course, we want to sell books, we want to pay our bills and stuff, but things like that are one of the reasons we write, is for our work to touch other people and help them or keep them afloat during hard times. I'm very proud of writing the genres I write because it gives people a chance to escape and to get out of their everyday world, which may be, the kids might be screaming, their bill collectors might be on their doorstep. They're dealing with some illness, or they're dealing with some injury, or rough days at work. And the fact that my books can help people get away from that for a while means the world to me. It really does. It's one of the reasons why I write, is to reach out and touch other people in a way that can be helpful, that can bring out emotion, that can maybe scare them a little bit, and then they have that relief at the end. I've never been one to pull punches in my books, but I always try to make it so by the end of the book, you're glad you read it. You feel like, okay, there's a satisfactory ending. I personally I don't think I could write regular romance or even paranormal romance first, because I don't believe in happily ever after. I believe in happy for now, because there's always an ever after. There's always an after to the happily, and things go in cycles. But if I can leave the book in a place where it feels like things are settled for now, there's a breather, you can rest easy because took care of this problem. Maybe there are problems coming in the future, but that's life. But for now, you can sit there and breathe easy. Then I feel I've done my job. Oh wow, yeah. That's the thing to me. For when I'm reading, I want to be able to sit there and like lose myself in a book. I want to be able to, even a movie, or because I'm very visually oriented. I want to be able to lose myself in the story for a while. I try to make my settings as real as possible. That's one reason why I write regional work. I love this area. I know the environment here. I know it in a gut way, to my core. And that allows me to bring the environment to be almost a character in itself. I want the person who's reading my books to feel like they can see what's going on. The other world, the new series. Oh yeah, the very end of Blood Bonds is 300 years in the future. Otherworld Unleashed will take place in about 2 years after Blood Bonds. So I wish you the best, Dawn. We want you to be healthy, and we wish you much health and strength and I hope that my books can help you through it, you know, if only emotionally. So, oh, by the way, I just found out yesterday on my YouTube channel, I can open up my post area. You know, there when you go to someone's channel, you'll see videos, shorts, live posts. It's I can open up the post area to be a community so people can come in and post in there. So I'm going to be doing that. Um, because unfortunately, in my Facebook group, hardly anybody ever sees the posts. I have almost, I have over 2,200 people in that group, and we're lucky if a post is seen by 2 to 300. And it's much easier in places like my Patreon and here on YouTube for people to see what's there. All they have to do is go to the channel and you can see everything that's there. So I'll be opening up the community part of um, my YouTube channel. Oh, my acknowledgments. I didn't know anybody ever read the acknowledgments. They've become a little more generic because I when you open up an ebook, it usually opens up to chapter one, which is another reason why I don't write prologues anymore, because it won't open up to prologue. Oh, I didn't know that, Jen. Um, it's an interesting time in the industry. I will tell you that, people. It's we have a lot of issues going on with the AI books flooding the market. But you know, truthfully, people will read the books they love. People who care about certain authors will read those authors. And it's the people who just read without thinking or read without caring what they're reading that will read the AI books. So while it's hurting visibility for authors, I'm not worried that it will take my readers away from me because I think my readers love my style and they love the characters that I write about. And as long as nobody tries to steal my characters, you know, I'm the one who's writing about them. So the AI issue is a big problem, but I'm trying to not let it get me too down. You know, I am part of a class action lawsuit for having over 50 of my books stolen and fed into AI, which pisses me off because really, I mean, it's like ethics aren't a thing in a lot of big business at this point. And sad to say, I think that's just going to continue. And it's continuing with all sorts of things. Artists, you know, artists are having a hard time because of it. And by the way, I love my new cover artist. I love Raven too for the Wild Hunt books and stuff. But I I wanted the other world books to have a more updated look. I wanted to differentiate them from the Berkeley versions because they are all indie now, and I wanted them to have a different feel for me as well. Plus, Camille was never super thin. Camille had some meat on her bones, and marketing would not allow that with the Berkeley books. In fact, the French versions thinned her down even more, And they made Delilah look like a 14-year-old, which drove me nuts. But I didn't get me saying that. Yeah, I really like Carol Marquez, who did the new covers, and she does my Shadow Blade covers as well, and she does a bunch of the others that I've had done too. And she's wonderful to work with. She really does a good job and tries her best. Yeah, Laurel is a friend of mine. I really like Laurel. I don't know J.R. Ward or Karen really, but so, and covers matter. Covers do matter, and the look for urban fantasy now is more along the lines of what my Otherworld and Shadowblade covers are looking like. And it's kind of important not to have dated looking covers when you're writing in indie. Well, it's normal, Dawn, to have friends in the business that you're in, and it's like, you know, it's like there are. If I were a singer, I'd probably have other singer friends, or if I were um, an actor, they are friends with other actors and actresses. So it's not it's not a big world. Publishing is actually a smaller world than you think, and especially if you like my books came out during the time when Janine Frost and Alona and Jim Butcher and Laurel and a bunch of other authors were writing urban fantasy too. It was called the second wave that I came in on of urban fantasy. So I interacted a lot with them and met them, and a bunch of them are still friends. And thank you, Carol. I call this my sunflower dress. It's funny because it's actually daisies, but for some reason I keep thinking it's sunflowers, so I've just named it my sunflower dress. Yeah, Laurel and I, we've we've had a lot of interesting talks, and she's a really nice person. I really like her a lot, and when you when you get to the level she is, it can be difficult with people who hate read. I've never understood that. I've never understood reading books that you don't like. For me, if I'm reading a book and I don't like it, I just stop. You know, I just stop and go on to the next one. I don't have time to read books that don't appeal to me. Now, I will say I watch more trash TV than probably is good for me, but it's also just something I love. Honestly, I don't know. I know the video will be up though, Dawn. It will go up on my. Well, Jen, can you copy those personal wishes and get them sent to Dawn? Dawn, if you can let Jen know. Are you in the group? Are you in the Facebook group? Okay, if you can just ping Jen in the Facebook group and ask her, Jen, if you could copy that section for her, and then she can take that and print it out and take it with her. Oh, no problem. It's important. It's really important to have those emotional stabilizers and things that uplift us. I actually I actually keep some comments by readers that are very poignant and very that touch me greatly, and I keep them in a notebook. And when I'm feeling down about how a book is going, or how things are selling or stuff. I read those over again because they matter. You do not know how much writers love hearing things like, your book helped me. I really loved your book. I loved this part of your book. I love this character. It buoys us up. It makes us feel like we're not just talking into the void, because there's so many books out there, and so many readers feel hesitant about approaching an author. Now, I'm not saying go up to an author and go, I hated your book, which has happened to me. um, but but if you like a book and you love an author, or love a book and like an author, let them know, because it helps us continue our work, and it gives us a boost. It gives us a feeling like this is why I'm doing this. This means something to someone out there. My words actually help somebody. So it it matters. It really does. And we all have our things we're going through, and like Dawn going through cancer treatment. You look for what will lift you up. You look for what will bring joy and what will make us smile, because those emotions, that feeling of smiling, that feeling of like, oh, this made me feel good, that helps your health. Actually, it's been proven. You know, Attitudes like that, feeling positive bursts, it will up your endorphins. It will up your sense of well-being, and it will help deal with things in the world that we don't control. It's funny, Lila. Lila says, each time I reread one of your books, I figure out something I may have missed the first time. And honestly, there are so many things. The way I write is I will write something and I will be like, why the hell did I write that? I have no idea. I have no idea why that's there. And then 5 chapters down the line, all of a sudden something happens and it's like, that's why I wrote it. My subconscious sticks foreshadowing in there. I'll be like, oh, I get it. That's what happened. That's why I wrote that. Okay, cool. Thank you, Angela. It makes me really smile when readers love my worlds. I mean, for me, I wanted to be a writer when I was 3 years old, and I I wrote stories before I could even write my name. I made up stories. In fact, my very first story that I told my mom over and over and over again was about a pair of green curtains in a curtain shop. I don't know why, don't ask, have no clue. But I remember sitting there, and apparently, okay, the green curtains were there along with the red curtains and blue curtains and yellow curtains. And must have just learned the word envy, because the green curtains were green with envy. And because all the other curtains were being sold before they were. And so the blue curtains went home with somebody, and then the red curtains went home with somebody. And finally, the green curtains got bought. Someone bought the green curtains and they took them home. And the green curtains were now very happy and they weren't envious anymore. And I was just magnetized by that story. And I told my mom that story over and over again. And to this day, I have no idea where that came from, but it was like I was 3 years old, and just, yeah. And I remembered the day I learned that people made books. I mean, the books didn't just magically appear. And all of a sudden, I was like, I'm going to grow up and make books. That's what I want to do. I'm going to grow up and make books. And so I never wavered. Right from then, 3 years old, it was like, I'm going to grow up and make books. And it took a long time and it took a lot of rejections because I was back in the day before indie publishing was ever a thing. And I ended up with 600 rejection slips before I made a sale. But I knew I could do it. And I knew if I just, you know, persevered and pushed on, I would make it. And I did. It's just, I knew that was my purpose in life. Bewitching Bedlam. Bedlam was an issue because I put too many diverse things in it for it to sell. The people who love cozy mysteries think it's cozies, and then they get really upset because of the sex. The people who want really hot, raunchy books love that part of it, but then they don't want the cozier aspects. And that was a series that is just, it's out of time. It is my poorest selling series above the Bath and Body series, which I never promoted. Oh, Dawn. Well, I always had talent. I knew it. I knew I had talent, but I needed help in refining that talent and refining the way I wrote. I never took a creative writing class. Um, I majored in theater actually, and directing and theatrical management. But I had a friend who was an agent, not my agent. And finally, one day, I was just talking to him about how frustrated I was. And I was working on Ghost of a Chance. And he said, well, send me the manuscript. He line edited that manuscript for me. And I mean, it was red ink everywhere. And he'd put a big X going, I stopped reading here because you mean she's being attacked right here by ghosts, and all of a sudden she turns around and goes shopping? What the hell are you doing? He taught me how to pace things. He taught me how to pace things. He taught me how to logically look at a book that I'd already written and go, oh, this would make better sense back there. This would make better sense over there. And so that was what I needed. And it was after that that my fiction sold. I had sold the nonfiction, which is a totally different category of writing. And the nonfiction helped tighten up my writing too, but he helped me refine my fiction so it finally made sense. It had all the elements, it just wasn't put together quite right. Oh, yeah. I'm nothing if not stubborn, Angela. You cannot, if I decide I want something, I'm going after it. And I will make it happen if at all possible. When I had to go indie in 2016, it wasn't a matter of can I do this? It was a matter of I have to do this to keep my career. And thanks to a bunch of wonderful women who write urban fantasy and who are a bunch of friends of mine still, they took me in hand and they helped me learn the ropes because indie is very different than trad. And it's not about the writing so much as about how you market and how you publish and how you do this and how you do that. And everything is a little bit different and you need to learn the ropes. And so I took a deep breath and I put my ego at the door and I learned. So I will forever and be grateful, forever, ever be grateful to them for helping me. Because you can't do it alone in this world, in this industry. You need to be able to talk to other authors and learn how things are done, learn what's working, learn what isn't working. Because marketing goes in waves too, how you market a book, how you get it out there, how you the covers go in waves, the way covers look and stuff and what pulls a reader's eye. Um, there's so much, and it's all always pivoting and changing, and you have to be able to change with it. And so, have I missed any questions here? I don't think so. One other thing, Dawn, about rejections from trad publishers, they are looking for the next blockbuster. They used to publish a lot of what's called mid-list authors. Very, very seldom will they do that now. It's all about what's going to make them the most money. And I had a very rough epiphany when I went as I went along in trad, and as I became more successful, and as I learned what publishing industry was really like, because I'd almost worshipped it before. I wanted to be an author. That's all I ever wanted. I made it. And then all of a sudden I ran into the reality of what it's like not working for, but working with a corporate version of an artistic pursuit. I mean, yes, you're writing. If you want to be a career writer, it's a business, but there's still the artistic side. When you get into the publisher side, your vision is not taken into account very much. How do I? Okay, yeah, a lot of people have that problem. How do you stay focused? I've tried to write stories, but I get off track with so many ideas. Um, One, I keep a folder where when a new idea comes up, I just write it down and put it in that folder or that notebook. And two, you have to find what you're most passionate about. And focus focus can be very difficult to develop. Some people have it more naturally, some people don't. I would say pick the idea that appeals to you most and make a deal with yourself to give it at least a month to work on it, you know, and see how you feel at the end of that month. And during that time, all the other ideas you just put in that file and go, I'll get to you when I get to you. And you try to stay with that one idea and find the heart of it, because once you get captivated by what you're writing, it's hard not to finish it. Once you fall in love with your characters or your storyline, it's hard not to go through and finish it. You have to kind of fall in love with your work. I do not understand authors who say, "Oh, my work is crap, my work is shit." It's like I've never done that, because I would never publish something I thought was crap. I would never put out a book that I didn't stand behind. And there are some books that I love a lot less than others that I've written, which is why some series stopped very quickly. And it's not that I didn't feel they were good ideas or good characters, it's just I couldn't fall in love with them. Um, the Bath and Body series, I wrote that in trad, and I wrote that to submit myself with Berkeley because they wanted a mystery series set in a bath and beauty shop, and they said you'd be the perfect person to write this, but we don't want it paranormal. And halfway through the first book, I realized I'm not excited about this. And I have 2.5 books to finish on contract. I did it. I did it to the best of my abilities, but I could never fall in love with those characters or that series because A, it wasn't paranormal, and B, it wasn't what I wanted to write. But I knew that it showed I was good at compromising, and I was good at being a cooperative author. And you have to be cooperative or you're going to be out of contract pretty soon. Um, Some people, why do people still try to go the trad route instead of just self publishing? Some people still feel it gives you more legitimacy. You can only hit the lists now pretty much mostly if you are trad. A few authors can still hit the big lists if they sell enough print. But the New York Times and the USA Today, they have skewered the lists so that it goes toward trad authors now. And I think that is my own speculation, just my opinion, is that they have worked with the publishers for that end. Because for a long time, indies were hitting the lists pretty good, pretty big. But then they shifted things around so that only trad authors have a really good chance of it. So yeah, some people still feel it's a sign of legitimacy, and that will die off eventually. But there is still a schism. Um, I found a few of my friends back then who stayed trad have distanced themselves from me since I went indie. Most haven't, but a few have, and it it really was an interesting shift for me in terms of you know seeing seeing what views people had. And yet I have found the most help as an author among the indie publishing groups. The indie authors band together. They band together to help each other and to lift each other up a lot more than trad authors, because in trad I was always they discouraged you from talking to other authors about much. They encouraged competition, and unfortunately that still kind of exists a bit. um, that's the thing about characters, Don. They have to be three-dimensional and they have to have flaws. If your characters are not flawed, even if they are a tree walking around, if they don't have a flaw and they don't have something that makes you relate to them, nobody's going to want to read them. People don't want to read perfect characters. That can happen. Lord of all Raylands, hello. Um, yeah, it can happen. For years, I had so many half finished stories and partially finished books. And actually, kind of what shifted things for me at that point was the day I almost died. And December 16th, 1993, I had pneumonia and I was home alone because Sam had work in the evenings and he was off at work. And I was too tired to cook. So I made some air popped popcorn thinking that would be a good idea for dinner. Well, you know how you got pneumonia, you cough, having lots of problems, sore throats. And when you cough, you kind of inhale, like cough. Well, I inhaled just as I put a couple popcorn kernels in my mouth and sucked a stray unpopped kernel down my windpipe, and it got stuck. And I suddenly realized I couldn't cough it up. And I quickly realized I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get to the phone. I stood up. I remember standing up. I remember I was watching Murphy Brown that night. Yes, I'm dating my age, but hey, I'm 65. Too bad. Anyway, so I stood up and things start going fuzzy. And the next thing I knew, I couldn't see anything. I knew I existed. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was. I just knew that I existed. Everything was brown around me. And the next moment, I opened my eyes and I was on the floor, and the popcorn kernel was next to me on the floor. It had dislodged as I fell. And I woke up, well, got up, called Sam, panicking. And finally, as I was starting to calm down, I asked myself, what would I most regret if I died tonight? Well, besides losing my new husband, because Sam and I got married that year, and my kitties, it would be that I had never published a book, which was my goal. My ultimate goal in life was to be a published writer. And right then, I reprioritized my life. I put my writing first. It came first before anything except Sam and the cats. And it took another 3 years before I got my first contract. But I always reminded myself someday may never come. So, what do I want to do with today? And it doesn't mean living every day like it's your last. Nobody can exist in that mindset, I think. But it means consciously choosing what you do, consciously choosing what you're doing. If you're goofing off, you consciously choose to play at that point. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all need play. I love video games. But I try to be mindful about my time, and I try to apply it where I want it to go. So, am I going to write today so I can pay the mortgage? Or am I going to just mindlessly watch YouTube videos? Well, sometimes I do, but I try to remember that point of someday may never come. The only time you have guaranteed is right now. And so I ask myself, what do I want to be doing right now? What, not just what is the best use of my time, but what do I want? What do I want to be doing? And I go from there. So that's how I gained my focus, actually, is by almost dying. And it was terrifying, Don. Excuse me. Yeah, allergies. It's hard if you're a people pleaser. Being a people pleaser is very common, especially among women. Um, One thing, I mean, of course, if you have kids and a family, you have to devote time to them, but they need to be able to devote time to you too. They need to be able to let you have time, and it's something that if I don't know much about little kids, I'm not going to talk about being a parent and what you have to do per se because I don't have that experience. I chose not to have children for many reasons. One is I knew I'd resent them because I wanted my career most of all. But if your partner, yes, I am a fur baby mama, but I can type around them. I couldn't sit a baby right there and type around the baby. I can have the cat there and sort of type over them. Anyway, um, if your partner is not willing to let you have some time for you, then there's a problem there and it needs to be addressed. I I spent 9 years with an abuser, an emotional abuser, and childhood abuse. I was through that. But once I left, I worked on myself for a while and I went, my needs are more important than a stranger's needs. because most strangers are never going to put you ahead of them. Your career will never be, or your artistic pursuit, whatever, will never be as important to anybody else as it is to you. And that's a hard thing to face, but it's true. It will never matter as much as it does to you. And so you need to be able to put your own needs first. It's like, what would you feel at the end of your life if you're sitting there going, I never did this and I never did that? I never even tried this because I spend all my time helping other people. Now, if your life is devoted to helping other people and you love that, that's fine. But you have to put yourself first, and you have to feel like it's okay to do that. It is not self it is not selfish, because if you are happy, you will make other people happy. If you are happy, you can help other people more. It's like putting on the oxygen mask on a plane. You put on the oxygen mask first, and then you put on the oxygen masks of your kid and your partner, because then you can think clearly to help them. Um, and if they are not supportive of your pursuits, then you need to ask yourself, do we need counseling? You know, is this even worth it? It's like, my ex used to keep telling me that if I ever became successful as an author, he'd have to leave me. And yeah, I'm gone. I finally left because it just, you know, he was also abusive and I got beat up, but the emotional abuse was almost worse. Yeah, the oxygen mask is a great way of explaining it. If you're too tired from helping others to be happy, then you're going to resent them, and if you if you are happy overall, if you can find your own joy, then it's easier to help give joy to others. If I don't write for a while, I get very cranky. I get very unpleasant to be around, and people are not going to want to be around me as much as if I am writing, which is my joy. It's not just my career; it's my joy. It's self care for me. Hello, Ellie. Come on. And this is Ellie. Come here. She and her sister Kiersey are 14 pounds each now. They are, we found out, a bit Siberian. They have some Siberian blood in them, hence the size. And they also have a breed called La Perm in them, which is a relatively new breed, and I'd never heard of it until I saw their DNA results. Oh, trust me, I can be a real bitch. And trust me, I can be that deliberately when I choose to. It's a matter of what I choose to do and what I choose to be. And sometimes I play the tough lover out with people. It's like, I don't have time to sit there and listen to people whine when they could be doing something about their life. Now, if they are having a really rough time, that's different. There are times when we do need to vent. Yes, Ellie is beautiful and her sister is pretty too. They came from a litter of 4 rescue kitties, and we took Ellie and Kiersey, and they had a brother and a sister. Yeah, Lila. Uh, oh, they're not spoiled. I would never spoil them. Would I? um, if a person doesn't have your back, why do you have their back? It's like I put my energy into people that I feel appreciate it and who can reciprocate when the need is reversed. I've had a few friends over the years who it was always on me to keep up the friendship. And after a while I stopped. I liked them, but I didn't like them enough to be responsible for the entire friendship. And I had a few friends who, no matter what, they decided that they wanted to be miserable and they were not happy for anybody who wasn't. And frankly, I I am happy for my friends when they succeed. I am overjoyed for them. I am thrilled and they are thrilled for me. I am not going to sit there and yes, she likes to groom mommy. um, I do not want to sit there and spoil my friend's yum. Basically, it's like if they are happy and they have made done something that has been successful for their lives, I want to celebrate for them. I want, yes, cat butt. I want friends who are reciprocating on that. I want friends who are happy for other people. Yes, misery loves company. And sometimes we all have problems and we need to vent. And there's nothing wrong with that. My friends know they can come vent to me when they need to. And I know I can go vent to them when I need to. And I suppose bringing this back to writing, I try to create characters. I try to create characters who are there for each other. I love writing family of choice. I love writing family of choice. I love writing the misfits who join together to create family because that's what my family is. My family is created from my friends. My family of origin, the less said about them, the better. But my family of friends, we have banded together to create a supportive, nurturing group for each other. And that's what I like to write. I like to write found family, people coming together who are underdogs and pull together. I'm very much the Scooby Gang from Buffy. It's like the underdogs who have to join together and save the world. Um, yeah, and you will see that in almost every series I write. That will be a common theme. That and the pets never die. They may be in danger. Pets and sidekicks may be in danger. They may get, you know, there's threats made against them, but they will not be hurt. I agree. Found family underdogs are the best stories because, it's like in this world, there are so many big bads, so to speak, that we're all up against something, even if it's a non person entity. I mean, whenever you call a big corporation or the healthcare providers or, you know, the TV providers, whatever, don't you all just sit there and go, oh, I don't want to make this call. I know it's going to be a fight. Bye, Carol. Talk to you later. Um, and there's always that exasperation of, I know I'm going to be on the phone for 3 hours trying to take care of this. Give me the strength. We're the underdogs. They're the big bads at that point. So we face that in our everyday lives, and it's nice to have a place, a world that you can step into where the underdogs go up against the big bads, and despite all odds, they manage to persevere and get through. Now, people do occasionally die in my stories, but it's not without thought, and it's always for a reason. And there's always no way to get out of it at that point. But I do not kill off my main characters, and I do not kill off their pets. I do not kill off their sidekicks for the most part. Sometimes someone may. Bye, Fiery Angel. Thank you for joining. I'm going to be holding these lives more often. I think maybe once a month. So maybe each time I have a book come out or something. Anyway, so that's just a bit about the way I write, about my views. Um, as I said, I'm going to be opening up the community section on my YouTube, so feel free to jump in there and chat. And I do, in case you don't know, have a big sale going on the shadow seeking, and then shadow scorching and shadow dreaming are all on sale right now. And there is a contest going on for that. Jen, I forgot to pop it in the description box, damn it. Can you pop the links for the two things in the chat here? Jen's going to pop the links for the contest going on for the Shadow Blade series and for the sale. And I've got some pretty great prizes. I give good contest bags, I'll tell you that. And it's because I like picking out gifts. I'm one of those people. One of my love languages is gift giving. And so I like thinking about everything I pick. Yep. The contest is on a Google Docs so that we make sure that all the answers get answered that need to be. Go over and, join it like in the next couple days, because it will close in a couple days. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for tonight, unless anybody has any other questions. And thank you for listening to me ramble on. I know, Jen, but that's the breaks. Oh, hi. I haven't seen you in a while, Casper. Thank you for joining. Take care, people. Just put me in front of a mic and I will go on and on and on. Half the time I can't remember what I said. There are physical books for sale. They are not for sale off my bookstore. It's just too much for us to handle. The Otherworld series I had to put out through a different venue than Amazon, because that's what caused the big mess where they took away my account for a day and killed so many pre-orders. So we will have links up on the site soon for Otherworld. All the other books, all my indie books, are for sale in trad size through Amazon. Yeah. It triggered. There are so many authors, their accounts are getting killed right now. And we're all pretty much sure it's because they've shifted over to a lot of AI bots to check things. And a lot of glitches are happening. And people are getting their accounts terminated for no reason. Now, luckily, I had a paper trail on several things there that I was able to convince them to give me back my account, but it made me gun shy about trying to put the print out through Amazon again. So they're coming out. They will be available on Amazon, but it's not through Amazon. It's through an aggregator called Draft to Digital, and they will also be available in the Barnes and Noble online store. So we'll get those links up as soon as we can. We'll put links in the Facebook group, and I'll try to put a link here and tell people in my newsletter. Always sign up for my newsletter because that's where all the announcements go to when the print copies of those are available. So anyway, so thank you all for joining me. Hopefully you'll be back for the next live. I'll announce it with more lead time next time. And have a wonderful weekend. Have a lovely summer solstice and a lovely July. Bye. How do I end this? Now I don't know how to end the live. Bye for now, Dawn. Oh, there it is. Bye.